The social media networks, Twitter and Facebook, are giving Donald Trump a timeout until the end of his presidency, saying the effect and likely intent of his posts are to provoke further violence. Now, thousands of posts are circulating on social media, pushing baseless claims that the mob that stormed the Capitol building were liberal activists posing as Trump supporters. So what role has online disinformation played in agitating the rioters, and what are their motivations? Joining us now is internet safety expert Jesse Miller. He's a speaker on social media awareness and is a frequent presenter on the subject. Jesse, thanks for joining us. What do you make of what we've been seeing in Washington, D.C.?
Well, obviously, Mike, it's disheartening to see the footage of the United States Capitol, the citadel of democracy, under siege. But realistically here, this was an issue that was basically going to happen. I mean, we saw Trump have a rally where he encouraged his supporters to march down Pennsylvania Avenue. You started to see aspects of the social media conversation becoming more and more radicalized throughout 2019 and 2020, especially with aspects of the pandemic added into the equation. And then with the loss in the election and then all of his disinformation attempts, the reality of it is the far right extremists who are supporting Trump, and this is far beyond the MAGA approach of 2016. These are individuals who very much are radicalized with conspiracy beliefs, where they believe that he is echoing a great awakening of sorts, and this is a big concern when it comes to safety around the world.
And so is that what's motivating these people?
Well, it's a weird hybrid. You start to see, obviously, the Republicans who have supported Trump for the purpose of power distancing themselves from him with these events. But realistically, I mean, this has been an issue within the past 2 years of far-right extremism that Trump has recognized can help motivate him towards a second term, which is obviously what he was trying to do with some of the rhetoric around the coronavirus, where he was using language that was not accepted vernacular. At the same time, also, when we start to see the rise of QAnon rhetoric, where they very much see Trump as a savior of sorts, he recognized that delivering information to them that was rooted in his attempts at disinformation would then be propagated on social media, where you start to see everyday users of social media who would lean towards voting Republican start to not only subscribe to some of the conspiracy belief, but actively share it on his behalf.
And Jesse, this isn't just an American problem. We saw Trump rallies in Canada. Our own photographer was assaulted here in Vancouver at one yesterday. What is it about the phenomenon that's letting it take root in our country?
Now, obviously, we've tried our best to kind of always keep our Canadian individuality in our media, but with social media, because it's not necessarily regulated the same way as we would see with CBC and Canadian-produced content, we start to see this global phenomenon of individuals who start to subscribe to beliefs online. And QAnon's quite interesting because it started with this attack on the Clintons, this belief in the elitists, and then it started to very much take root in all sorts of conspiracy beliefs that became this big tent issue. So whether it's 5G technology conspiracy, whether it's the COVID-19 outbreak being an actual plan, or the fact that Bill Gates wants to put microchips into vaccinations, you start to see individuals who just with the smallest belief that something might not be legitimate, then actually have a silo of information that they can basically find anything to meet a narrative. So in Canada, we are seeing more and more individuals, especially in 2020 with more people at home, subscribing to certain aspects of concern because they don't believe in government or they don't believe the prime minister. But earlier in 2020, we saw an individual literally drive a vehicle through the gates of Rideau Hall because he wanted to speak to the prime minister and he had firearms in the vehicle. That's usually a narrative that we would basically say, where in the United States did this occur? And it really didn't get a lot of fanfare and the attention that the fact that this individual themselves was becoming radicalized in these similar beliefs.
All right, Jesse, we'll leave it at that. Thanks very much for your time. Internet safety expert Jesse Miller with us tonight.